Hello, girls. How are you all? Look at the screen once. We have a colorful picture on the screen. Yes, by seeing itself, you might have understood that you have to spot the differences. Yes, of course. Without any delay, let us do this interesting activity now. Let us see what are the differences. I'll give you time of 1 minute, just once. Not 1 minute. 1 minute is more. Find out the differences within half minute now. Yes, hope you are finding the differences. Yes, yes, yes. Let us see now. Okay, now look at this. These are the differences we found in the picture. Yes, the spots on the snake, the tongue of the snake, spectacles of the owl, mushrooms on the trunk, and color of the ears of the jackal, flowers and nuts and leaves on the ground, porcupine on the ground, and spots on the deer. So, these are the differences we found. How do you feel now when you do this activity? Yeah, you might have felt like you have achieved something great, right? Like you feel like a detective, something you found out which some others did not, right? So, why did I tell you about this detective? Today, we are going to have an interesting lesson in your textbook, lesson number 6, The Adventure of the Three Students. Actually, this is a detective type story which is adventurous. So, let us know the characters first in the story. First character, Sherlock Holmes. He is a detective. Next one, Dr. Watson, who is the friend of Sherlock Holmes. And we have three students, Miles McLaren, Gilchrist, Dowlatrus. And here we have Hilton Soames, a teacher at St. Luke's College. Last but not the least, Bannister, a servant at the college, St. Luke's College. Now, these are the characters we have. Now, I'm going to tell the story in brief because I'm not going to reveal the climax of the story so that you don't have that excitement to know what had happened in the story. So, I'll just give you a brief description of the story. Hilton Soames, who was a teacher at St. Luke's College, and these are the three students, Dowlatrus, Gilchrist, and Miles McLaren, who lives upstairs of the teacher's house. That means Hilton Soames' house. Now, here, Hilton Soames had been reading three question papers for an important exam scheduled to begin the next day. He prepared the question paper and he was checking that. He left his room. On returning, he found that his servant had left his key in the lock and that papers had been disturbed. The implication was the papers had been copied. So he found some clues in his rooms like shavings from a pencil, a cut on the writing table, a piece of black mud where uh, a piece of black mud he found on the floor. So these are the clues he had. So that's why he wanted to find out who was the person who had copied the question paper. So he went to the detective Sherlock Holmes and he urged him to solve the case. Sherlock Holmes come to his office and he observes everything from outside the office and also inside. From outside, he observes from the window how the papers are spread. And when he goes inside, he found the sharpened pencil and the mud and the cut on the table, everything he found. And he also spoke to Bannister, the servant. Finally, he comes to a conclusion. Who is the student out of the three students? Who is the particular student who had copied the question papers? So, I want you to know the story in detail with this video.
The Adventure of the Three Students, adapted from The Adventure of the Three Students by Arthur Conan Doyle. Scene 1. Sherlock Holmes's house.
Who was at the door, Watson?
This is Mr. Hilton Soames. He teaches at St. Luke's College. Can you give me some of your time, Mr. Holmes? I'm worried about something that happened at college today.
Well, tell me, Mr. Soames.
Tomorrow is the first day of an important examination, and I'm one of the examiners. Today, at 3 o'clock, 3 exam papers arrived for me to read. I began to read them, but at 4:30 p.m., I went out to have tea in a friend's room.
Where did you leave the papers?
They were on my writing table. I locked my door and was away for an hour. When I arrived home, I saw a key in my door. I thought, it's Bannister's key. Bannister is my servant.
Why did he go to your room this afternoon?
He brings my tea in every afternoon. He may have forgotten that I was out.
Where were the examination papers when you went back to your room?
One was on a small table next to the window, one was on the floor, and one on my writing table. I asked Bannister if he had read them, but he said no. And he's an honest man, Mr. Holmes.
What happened next?
Bannister suddenly fell ill, and I told him about the papers. He sat down on a chair, and I gave him a strong drink. Then I looked carefully at the table next to the window.
What did you find?
Small pieces of pencil.
Did somebody break and sharpen a pencil?
Yes, perhaps. Yes, that was it.
Good. That helps us.
2 more things. I have a new writing table, but now there's a little cut on it. There was a piece of black mud on the table.
Is that all?
Yes. Please help me, Mr. Holmes.
Come then. We must go to your rooms.
Scene 2. Soames's rooms in St. Luke's College.
That window does not open, Mr. Holmes.
Which chair was Bannister sitting on?
The chair by the window.
Near this little table, yes. The man comes in. He takes the 3 papers from the table to the window, because then now.
Soames opens a box with a key and takes out the papers. Looking at the first paper,
He begins to copy the first paper. It takes him 10 minutes.
15, I think.
All right, 15. Then he puts it down on the floor, gets the next paper, and begins to copy that. Then he hears you coming in the back door, Mr. Soames. He must be quick. He leaves the second paper on the table next to the window and runs. Where? Did you hear him running upstairs?
No, I didn't.
looking closely at the table,
I can see cuts on the table.
Holmes walks across to the big writing table and picks up black color mud from it. Then he looks up towards a door.
Black mud.
He rubs the dirt between his fingers.
What is that door?
It opens into my bedroom.
Did you go into your bedroom before you ran out to find me?
No.
Holmes opens the bedroom door and looks under the bed. Then he sees the curtain.
Your visitor was in this room, Mr. Soames. Think for a minute. He hears you coming. What can he do? He must hide. So, he runs into your bedroom and hides behind this curtain.
Oh, then he was in here when Bannister and I were in the next room.
Tell me, How many students live upstairs and go past your door? 3, all taking this examination. Who are they? There is Gilchrist. He plays football and likes running. Dorothy Russ is a quiet young man, but he works well. Then there is Miles McLaren, a very clever young man. However, he doesn't study much, and he's worried about this examination. So,
Scene 3. Soames's room. Next morning, a very worried Soames brings Holmes and Watson into the room. Holmes has already interrogated the 3 students.
please call Bannister.
Soames leaves and returns with Bannister.
Bannister, when Mr. Soames called you into the room yesterday, you saw something on that chair and you sat on it before Mr. Soames could see it.
No, sir.
Yes, and when Mr. Soames went out, you opened the door and said, "You can come out now," to the man hiding behind the curtain.
Looking afraid,
There was no man, sir.
Bannister, please go and stand next to the bedroom door. Soames, please go and ask young Gilchrist to come down.
Soames leaves and comes back with Gilchrist. Gilchrist looks worried when he sees Bannister.
Mr. Gilchrist, why did you copy the examination papers yesterday?
No, Mr. Gilchrist, sir. I never said anything.
No, but you are helping us now, Bannister.
Gilchrist suddenly begins to cry. Holmes goes across and puts a
I'm going to tell you the story, Soames. Mr. Gilchrist first saw the papers through the window. But nobody can get in through the window. That's true, but a very tall man can look through it from the garden. I could not understand this cut on the table, but then I remembered. Gilchrist likes running. This young man went running yesterday afternoon. When he walked home, his running shoes were in his hands.
Running shoes have spikes, of course.
Gilchrist saw the exam papers on the writing table. Then he went past Soames's door and saw the key in it.
And he went into the room and put his shoes on the writing table.
Yes, Watson. What did you put on that chair near the window? My watch. He puts his watch on the chair, then begins to copy one of the papers. Then he hears you coming, quickly takes his running shoes and runs into your bedroom to hide. Have you nothing to say? I have a letter here, Mr. Soames. It says, I'm not going to take the examination. I'm going to South Africa to work for the police there. Gilchrist was in the bedroom, Bannister, and you didn't tell Mr. Soames. When you saw Gilchrist's watch, you sat on it to hide it. Why?
Well, sir, I was once a servant to Sir Jabez Gilchrist, this young gentleman's father. He was good to me, so I did everything to help his son here. Yesterday, I called young Mr. Gilchrist. Did you copy the question papers? I asked. Yes, he said. Then you cannot take the exam, I said.
You were right, Bannister.